Hi guys, welcome back to the Forgetful Scholar. Let's chat about books. Two books today. I think one of them technically is a novella, but so let's get to it. The first book is the novella, Lights, Camera, Murder, The Silver Screen, Case 1, book 1, by C.S. Poe. And I know if it's been a while since I read C.S. Poe, and I love their Snow and Winter series. They have a steampunk series that I got into, but then I don't know, I just started reading other things and I haven't picked up the latest one or two. I think there have been two new ones, but it was a while ago, so I think I have to revisit the steampunk series to remember exactly what's going on. I remember I really enjoyed it. So this is a mystery gay romance, and it's contemporary. So, which I was actually surprised by the cover, because by the cover I thought it was going to be like a historical, but no, it's contemporary. So our private eye that we're following is Rory Byrne. And I did not mean for this to happen, but both books this week, grumpy protagonist, like the male lead, grumpy. I loved it. I love both of them being grumpy for some reason. It's such a nice change, you know what I mean? And I do love grumpy sunshine. I really do. So Rory's private eye, I think, yeah, he's middle-aged. He's like in his 40s, like early 40s, I believe. And we open up on him breaking up. Well, he had already broken up with his ex. And his ex calls him, flips out on him, and he is a cool customer. Like, we sense no emotion from him. Just that, like, the ex cheated on him repeatedly, even with, like, his coworkers. And he's just done. And I, like, respected that. I was like, yeah, you cheated. Get the hell out of here. You know what I'm saying? But his ex was just cursing him out, yelling at him, like, gaslighting him, and very, like, I want to see borderline emotionally abusive, because they're like, well, it's your fault I cheated. And it's like, no, it's your fault you cheated. You're dating a private investigator who apparently is like the best in his firm. You cheated on him repeatedly. And you're surprised he found out and like ended it? Like, come on, bro. Like, come on. I didn't even bother to write the ex-boyfriend's name down, because like, I do not give a shit about him. He could F off. You know what I mean? And later on, he comes back again. But first, okay. So basically, their new client is a producer for this series that they're making. It's an Irish immigrant who is a mob boss, but he is gay and he has a romance with, obviously he's in a relationship, and like the whole point of the show is that he's in a stable gay relationship, and like there's no relationship drama. It's not like anything like that. It's like, and the premise of the show, like hearing that, I was like, oh shit, I would watch the hell out of that. That sounds really interesting. That sounds a lot of fun. And it would be nice to watch like a drama where the romance is like a steady, secure thing. Like, I loved White Collar. And one of the reasons I loved White Collar so much is because the FBI agent, he was in a stable, happy marriage, and there wasn't like issues, you know what I mean? His wife knew she was marrying an FBI agent, right? And every time they had an issue, they were adults and communicated. Like, that was nice, you know what I mean? So we could just focus on like the heist stuff, you know? I completely digressed. Okay, so he gets hired by a producer because he says someone stole his script. Not the script to a show he's working on now, but like an even better show. Apparently the script is amazing, right? So he's like, okay, so he goes undercover as a PA. And he learns all the rules for the sets and stuff like that. And the lead actor, Marin Roosevelt, absolutely gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. And not only is he absolutely gorgeous, he's nice too. He doesn't treat who he thought was a PA like shit, right? and they kind of flirt, and then Rory realizes, oh shit, he's the main star, and he's like, I can't, and it's interesting because for Rory, we're in his POV the whole time, and like his job is really his identity, you know what I mean? Which I think is what happens to a lot of people. Like they have their whole sense of self wrapped up in what they do for a living, right? So he kind of fell insta lust with Marin. Insta love, but like I'm like, okay, no, it's insta lust, but whatever. With Marin, and he's trying really hard to like internally work that out because it clashes with his job and who he always thought he was, you know what I mean? And Marin has some stuff going on that makes him a little sus. Makes him a little suspect. There's some shit going on. And I don't want to ruin the fun little twists and turns in the series. I did like the mystery of it. It escalated pretty quickly. Like, it's 100 pages, and it's a fast, fun read. But when you get to the third act, like, it goes from, oh, someone stole the script. Oh, shit, someone's murdered. So it kind of really quickly gets to that point, right? So it's pretty interesting who the bad guy ends up being. And I was like, oh, okay, yeah, I can see that. Because a little bit of spoilers. There's two bad guys, right? And the director, I hated him from the beginning because he treated everybody that was beneath him like shit. And then everybody that was like, could help further his career, he was a kiss ass. So I'm like already like, oh, I hate this guy. So to me, he was always like, so there's always like two bad guys in this, you know what I mean? But the crime is solved and it's a good ending. I liked the confrontation. I liked all that. Although I was a little surprised how off guard Rory was taken by surprise so quickly. I'm like, but you're like a seasoned. And I was like, oh, that's a little weird. And I'm interested in the next book to see, because like I have never romanticized the music industry or the entertainment industry with movies or TV. A lot of people are like love books, romance novels, which has to do with rock star and normal person, or a movie star and normal person. I'm always like, I don't know. I don't really, in real life, I wouldn't find that conducive to a healthy relationship personally, if you think about it logically, you know what I mean? But with them, I'm kind of interested how the author is going to handle Marin, who's a big, huge, in the public eye star, and Rory, who is private eye, and also they're in the company he works for, the best undercover they have. Because I'm like, wait a minute, Marin's always getting like paparazzi. Like, how is that going to work? So I'm kind of fascinated with that. Like, I want to see how that works out. And I hope it does, but I'm fascinated, you know what I'm saying? So that's 4 stars. I enjoyed myself. Okay, and the second one is The 5-Minute Mistake, West Oaks Heroes Book 2 by Hannah Shield. Yes, hello. We're back with the West Oak Heroes. Okay, so this book was interesting. It had to do with Shelby, who we were introduced to in the first West Oak Heroes book. She was the patrolman that worked with major crimes and was so cool. Like, immediately friends with, immediately nice to Jane. Janie, who, was a prosecutor, but she didn't care. Like, she just seemed really, really nice. So when I realized this was that book, I was like, oh, yay. Shelby, I can't wait to see her, love story, right? Now, we open up, Shelby is training for the SWAT team, right? And the instructor to the SWAT team is our love interest. I forgot his name. Why did I forget his name? Nash. I can't believe I forgot his name, because when I was reading this, I was like, oh, I kind of like the name Nash. Anyway, Nash. Now, and Nash, hilariously enough, especially since the first West Oak Heroes book made fun of romance novels, that the main guy was an ex-Navy SEAL. Nash is an ex-Navy SEAL. And he's grumpy. Oh, that was fun too. Grumpy. The POV switches back and forth between the two. And I was happy that Shelby kind of stayed within the kind of personality we saw in the first book. We didn't get too much of her in the first book, because she's a secondary character, of course. But she always seemed nice, you know, friendly, more of a jokester type. So I'm happy that stayed in it, you know, because you never know, right? When a secondary character that kind of feels like they have this personality, they get their own book, a lot of times that their whole personality changes, you know what I mean? So I was happy to see that. Now, Nash and Shelby, they went to the academy together because this is obviously Nash's second career. He left the SEALs to try to save his marriage. He's a divorced, and he has a 15-year-old daughter that is living with him right now because his ex-wife is in Europe with her new husband. And I'm happy they didn't demonize the ex-wife. I'm happy that like the ex-wife and Nash have a friendly co-parenting relationship. They're not at each other's throat. There's no hard feelings. They were just like high school sweethearts. And then realize, you know, especially with him deployed so much, you know what I mean? So I was just happy that they managed to stay as friends. You know what I mean? I like that. I was like dreading the ex-wife gemination. You know what I mean? So I really appreciated that. Now, as you guys know, if you've been here before, I'm not a fan of teacher and student. No, not in high school level, gross. Not at a college level, gross. So this was interesting because he was the SWAT instructor. So in the beginning I was like, oh, I don't like it. I was like, okay, keep watching. And it was, keep reading. And it was a little different because Shelby's not an impressionable new adult. You know, she's like in her late 20s, she's almost 30. Like, you know what I mean? She's been a cop for a long time and she's a good cop. You know what I mean? Like, she's not an impressionable youth, right? And they went to the academy together. And I think the author, for me at least, who usually is not a fan of that dynamic, rationalized them falling for each other well enough that I was like, yeah, okay. Because as the book goes on, especially in their different POVs, I saw them more as co-workers, especially since he was teaching them SWAT tactics, right? But he's not in control of who passes, and he's not in control of any assignments. So I was like, okay, I'm happy that the author did that. It kind of takes away the icky power dynamic, at least for me, right? They knew each other since the academy, so again, that took that out. And then something happens in the beginning of the book that kind of takes them both out of, I want to say circulation, as if they're books. No. They're both injured, so they're kind of off of SWAT for the moment. So again, I was like, okay, cool. So this isn't really a teacher-student thing. This is more of coworkers, you know, almost like a supervisor and a coworker kind of thing, which I don't mind. I know. It's like, well, what's the difference? There's a difference. You know what I mean? There's a difference between a teen or a new adult, you know, someone in their like 20 to 25 that don't really know who they are, being almost preyed upon by someone like in their middle, like in their 40s. It's not for me personally. I'm not trying to yuck your yum. It's just not for me. And I like how much, because Shelby was all for it, but Nash was like, no, age difference, this is wrong. I'm stopping this. I'm putting an end to it. So I liked that as well, because it wasn't like Nash was trying to get him a young piece of ass. You know what I mean? So I like that. So he wants to be more approachable because he's not trained as an instructor. You know what I mean? He's just an ex-SEAL. And they're like, and he passed the academy, and they're like, hey, you know shit. Teach shit to the SEAL team and to our SWAT team. And he's like, fuck. Because he's super grumpy, right? And was the sniper for the SEAL team. So, as I understand it from many friends who are veterans, snipers tend to be pretty quiet. So he's a pretty quiet dude. You know, he doesn't really talk. And Shelby, I get Shelby. Me too, girl. Me too. Can't shut up. You know what I mean? So it was interesting. So he asked Shelby, like, hey, he asked Shelby to give him some advice on how he's doing as an instructor. She says he's really intimidating because he's big, muscular, kind of guy, doesn't talk a lot, comes off very grumpy. He has a resting bitch face. Girl, me too. So she's like, come out for drinks with us, so they could see you as like one of the boys, a fellow member in blue, So he's like, okay. And I was like, oh, I see where this is happening. Where this is going. And I was right. They get drunk. Shelby kisses him, which I like that she was the instigator, He kisses her, but then like, no, we can't do this. This is not a good idea. And I do like that her female friend was like, I see you giving him moon eyes. You know how that's going to look to everybody else if you make the tea, like if you make SWAT. And I mean, I liked that the author put that interaction in because I felt that was really realistic, right? Like if my friend was making out with their supervisor, I would put them aside and be like, hey, are you okay? Are you being pressured? Like, just so you know, you might want to keep it on the DL because if, this got around, people are going to say horrible things about you. You know what I mean? And then I'll have to beat them up and I'll end up in jail. So, so I get that. I like that she has friends looking out for her. You know what I mean? They have an argument because he pushes her away. Classic. There's so much yearning in this book and I loved it. Sometimes you want a good yearning, you know what I'm saying? So, the part that did annoy me, and this is just a me thing. I've seen couples do this in real life. I've never done that. When I've dated, I've never done that to any ex-boyfriends. But the whole like, I'm angry, so I'm gonna walk home, and then they drive next to you, get in the car, and you're like, no. And then if they drive off, you're super even more pissed. I've never done that. During arguments, like it just seemed, and I've seen friends of mine do that in real life, and it just seems so childish. It's like, and back my brain is like, get somewhere safe. Because you're drunk, walking at night. You know what I mean? And usually clubs aren't in the most secure places, neighborhoods, you know what I'm saying? So like, get somewhere safe and then you can let them have it if you're that mad, you know what I mean? But get yourself safe first. I can only remember one time like storming out of the car, and that was, the couple picked me up. And the driver was already drunk and they were arguing, and I was like 2 blocks away from my house and it was like daylight. And I was like, fuck you both, I'm out. And like, so that was the only time I remember ever doing something like that. But anyway, Shelby does the classic, no, I can make my own way home. And yes, Shelby is a cop and she's a badass, but she doesn't have any of her equipment on her. And I'm like, girl, you're like, okay. But while this is going on, why so many of the officers are put into SWAT training is because they have a problem in West Oaks called the Midnight Slasher. He breaks into people's homes and he slashes them up and tortures them and like leaves them alive so they always have the reminder. It's really sick, right? So she sees someone breaking into a house, so they go in. So the 5-minute mistake took like 50 pages and did not feel 5 minutes. I will say the beginning of this was kind of a slog, but after the 50 pages mark, boom, 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 boom. It was so much fun. So the suspense, I know the suspense romance. Oh, I didn't even say, I'm sorry. Contemporary suspense romance, straight romance. And I didn't even say it. Sorry about that. This could be a chaotic video. So the suspense part, loved it. And yes, in this book, there's something really suspenseful happen, and then it kind of cuts off, and the romance part happens, and then that cuts off, and suspense happens, and I'm thinking, because that's the same way it happened in the first book, so I'm thinking this is just the author's style. It's not my favorite, but I'm getting used to it, and I do love her characters. So far, they're not alike. They all have, the characters from the first book and this book, different personalities. I love that a lot. Different circumstances, love that a lot. And let me tell you, the third act was so good. Like the confrontation, the conclusion, I had like the twist was twisting, surprise was had by eye, and like I could not put it down. I could not put down It was so good. It was so good. And I'm not talking about the epilogue or the conclusion, but the third act was so, like, I was like, oh my god, this is so good. Oh my god, I can't stop. Oh my god, this is so good. I don't give a shit if the Super Bowl is on. I gotta keep reading. Like, it was so good. So this is like 4 stars because I do think the beginning was a little bit, the first 50 pages was a little slow for me. But after that, so good. And the conclusion, so good. Oh my gosh. I don't want to give anything away. It was too good. The next book in the series, I am like, I want to read it because it's Shelby's brother, but also I'm like, because it's second chance romance, and I fucking hate second chance romance so much. Like, just even thinking about it, I had the biggest urge to throw my notebook and like crawl away. Where am I crawling away from? I don't know. Where am I crawling to? I don't know. It's my freaking house. But I just like, I hate it so much. Am I gonna give it a try? Yes. Am I gonna try to enjoy it even though I freaking hate second chance romance? Yes. Well, it might take me a while to get to it because I'm probably gonna drag my feet. Seriously, I want to throw my notebook and crawl. Crawl where? I have no idea. Like, crawl away. Why? I don't know. Okay. Calm down. Okay. So I had a lot of fun this week. I don't want too much time for me to get back to the real world. Like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you later. Bye.